All right, guys, we are back. Married at First Sight, season 16, episode 2. Let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so I started in my notes with Kirsten and Shaq. And I think I figured out why her sperm donor didn't want to go to this wedding. Because he knew that whoever they picked for her wasn't going to be good enough for her. And I don't think he has confidence that it's going to work. Because I went back and looked and I clipped it in the thing where she says that her dad got frustrated with her when she would just pick over her food, you know. And I think he sees something in her that she doesn't see in herself. And so maybe he used the COVID test as an excuse so that he didn't have to, put himself out on blast. Because, people like to operate under the cover of darkness. Maybe her dad is like that. So, we stopped at them getting married. She was getting ready to go down the aisle. And she did have an escort. They didn't play him up. So, I don't know what part of the family, he was. I can't remember from when she said it in a future episode, if she said, what part of the family, he was. So, yeah, that was interesting. I really liked the way she tried to compose herself, even in her disappointment. I know what disappointment feels like. And Shaq was just all in. So that was just really interesting. I love what he said to her. He was just very complimentary, and it really seemed like it was coming from a heartfelt, place, that he put his faith in the Lord, that the Lord is going to deliver. And he was like, okay, yeah, shoot. If this is where prayer gets you, child, I'll be on my knees way more often. So he was cute. I fear for him. And this is a different fear from Justin. Because I guess in a way it's the same, because Shaq is not athletic and Justin wasn't athletic, and Shaq's accident has caused him mentally to feel like he's been put in a different place because he wasn't able to play sports because of the accident. And so that put him like probably in a different category, where he was more into the academics. So I could see him being stewed by the president, and that kind of thing. Let me see. What other similarities? They both had nice smiles. Both of their wives were expecting somebody else at the end of the altar. So both of them claimed, Jesus. So we'll see. We'll see, if anything else pops up. But yeah, I fear for Shaq, because even though I understand that she's young, and this is a problem with youth, is that it really clouds your judgment. Your wisdom can't break through because of culture issues and things that we've been raised with, that you learn as you get older are not as important as you thought that they were when you were younger. So I see some of her youth getting in her way. I see the culture getting in her way. I see she's used to people telling her how good she looked. And everything that Shaq said to her, somebody had said that to her before. And I did go back and hear what she said about her relationship. She was in a 4-year relationship with a dude, and he ended up cheating on her. So this is the kind of thing that the experts are trying to help her with, because the way that she picks men is not beneficial for her. So they're trying to shift the narrative to give her something more substantial to look at, other than her criteria, because so far her criteria hasn't worked for her. And it's going to hopefully take her not that long, to understand that she needs to make a shift in her thinking so that she can try to give this opportunity that gave her a chance. And this is what I think a lot of people miss. We shift our perspectives all the time, especially when we're at work. I mean, you can get to work and think that you're finna work on this project and then have something else sidetrack you all the way over here. And now you got to get with a whole program that you didn't even know that you was going, that when you walked in was not on your agenda. But we do it. In order for her to get all those degrees that she got, she's going to have to, she's going to have to figure it out. And so, it's just one of those situations where Alexis, it brought me back to Alexis when she was talking to Justin and she was saying to him that he needs to self-regulate. So this is a point where Kirsten needs to self-regulate, and she doesn't want to do it because she wants what she wants and she's not satisfied. And with that, I'm going to go into one Christian problem that I'm seeing out of her is she said that she prayed for this. And so where's your trust and your faith in the Lord? Because you can't ask him to steer the boat. And then when you don't like the direction that he going in, then you want to take the wheel, for yourself. See, this is what we do all the time. And this is how we end up in a ditch. Or how we end up, scraped up against the iceberg. Because we say that we want, his leadership, and we say that we have faith in him. We say that we believe in him. And then the second that is put to the test, oh no, we're snatching the wheel back. Now I got, to take control, over this. And in this society that we live in today, beauty doesn't mean anything. Intelligence, females' intelligence, especially in these patriarchal streets, that doesn't really mean what you think that it means. I mean, you can have 5 degrees and they'll still be wanting you to put a meal on the table, every night. And do something with these kids. So she doesn't understand the environment that she's living in. And if she continues down this road, she's going to get a whole lot of more bumps upside of her head that she could have avoided if she just let go of the wheel and let the Lord, guide this ship. So, like I said, we'll see. Let me see. So, one of the things that she was saying after she and he spoke is that I don't know if he already has 2 strikes or if the experts already has 2 strikes. So, I was kind of confused about who gets the strikes. But she said that because he's a year younger, so they have her as 32 and him as 31. And a year younger. She wanted him to be older than her. So anyway, she said that the fact that he was bald was 1 strike, and the fact that he was younger than her was 2 strikes. So I think she meant the experts. I think a lot of people think that she's taking that out on Shaq. So I don't know. I have to put that one on the shelf and see. But she seemed really, she seemed to be paying attention to him when they finished down the aisle and had that one-on-one, which I thought was great. And she recognized that he was doing serious, good work, with the kids, in the community. And that he had, credentials. And so the thing was, though, I looked at the after show, and emotionally, she didn't seem any more connected to him. And I know like that first after show when the guys and the girls, were on there together. They had the girls first, and then they had the guys. And they had already been married at that point. But they pretended like it was just an engagement. Oh, how do you feel about being engaged? But they had already been married. They'd already gone down the aisle. And so now with this after party, they've actually been around each other, for a moment in time, longer than what we know on the show. And she doesn't seem to be any warmer to him on this after show, on the second after show, that she was on this first episode or the second, episode. And so that's really concerning, to me. And I really am pulling, I'm pulling for these guys, but I'm looking at this Christian faith, and I don't see any in her. I see way more in Shaq than I see in her, right now. And so I have for him, so far he seems to have a real trusting spirit, and I'm really praying that he can be a source of strength for this marriage. It's almost like Deanna and Greg. Greg was really quiet, strong quiet, just a good man, not flamboyant, exciting, like Nate and Isaac and Chris, but just, just a good dude. And it took Deanna a minute to kind of get to her senses. And then she finally crossed over at a good point in the episode. In the season. So she went through, I think, maybe about half the season. And then afterwards, she started to kind of get with the program. And then now she's got a beautiful family. She's got a loving husband. She's got a stable life. And this is what Kirsten, can have. If she lets go of whatever it is that she's carrying around. She got some issues, and if she doesn't really get with herself, this could really be a missed opportunity, for her. And the guy that she wants is just not going. He doesn't want her. And I'm 52. The guys that I've wanted have not wanted me, and so I've had to learn. I've had to learn why in some instances, and I've had to learn to accept in other instances. People, especially, when you have like no spiritual guidance, you really are just relying on cultural inferences to tell you whether or not this person, is good for you. Yeah, that's like a bad metric that we've been fooled into believing that's going to give us some idea about who we're looking for. You actually, in my assessment at this point, actually need to kind of be able to step outside of the culture and just really get in touch with humanity. And one of my questions, would be to people, is how do you feel about human rights? So if I ask a guy that I'm interested, that question, I really am going to be sitting there listening to the words that's coming out of his mouth, because that actually means a lot, you know what I mean? So if I'm with someone who can understand the dynamics of humanity and how important it is, and he gives me a solid answer, on something as serious, as that, then that's going to, that gives me a lot of information that would actually tell me more about who he is. And I think it gives me a better avenue to be able to find that out. So, I also have here that Kirsten seems to me to have a lot of a judgmental spirit, about her. And this is going to be interesting, too, because on the after show, the second one, where the girls were there, the girls were telling her, the other two that she was there with were telling her the same thing. We're all telling her the same thing. Rudy was telling her the same thing, too. So it kind of makes me wonder if she has a stubborn spirit, because I can see her, if everybody's telling her the same thing, and then she's thinking, well, I'm going to, stay true to myself, then that could be a recipe, for disaster for her. Because that compass that she's working with has only gotten her to a certain point. And if she wants to go beyond that point, she's going to have to be introduced to other perspectives and allow herself to delve into, because Gina, I think, told her, girl, if That man, if my man had told me that God knew what he was doing when he made me, yeah, I would have gave him a kiss. I mean, that was kiss worthy, for Gina. And then I think it was Nicole, and Nicole was saying to her that I hope that she is able to kind of let down her wall and give him a chance. So we'll see. I think her dad sees some stubbornness in her too, and I'm praying. I really am praying for her because I know what Christianity has done. I know what white supremacy, has done to our minds. And I just don't want to see them fail. I want to see them flourish and grow in Christ and be successful. So we're like, so, okay. And then what do I have? Yeah, I hate to say it. I'm just going to put this on the record that right now she's just showing me that she's showing a lot of superficial energy. She's showing judgmental energy. She got to do something with her face. It kind of reminded me of Alexis a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Because Alexis would try to mask her stuff too. And she couldn't always be successful, with it. So I could see her trying to put on that Southern Belle, face. And then it manifested into us as stank. So looking to try to get her out of that mess. And so, she did say on the after show that she thinks that he has a good heart. So, like I said, moving on. We're going to move on to Clint and Gina. Somebody in another reaction video said that he looks like Chuck Norris. I actually agree with that. So, Eris said the Brawny dude on the Brawny paper towel. And somebody else said Chuck Norris, and I can see both of them. He had a horrible suit. I thought it was disrespectful that he wouldn't even put on a tie. He looked like he had just gotten out of work, and instead of, going to a wedding. I think that while it's important for him to express himself, he could have done so in a completely different. I mean, he actually could have walked up in there in a captain's uniform, like how they have the regalia for a captain. And, and matched her. That could have been his thing. And he could have given her the respect that she needed as a bride. She's coming down there in her dress and stuff. And he looked like he getting ready to go to a cocktail party, over at some swanky restaurant that's overlooking the pier. That's what I got, from him. And that was disrespectful to me. And Gina, girl, these teeth. I do have to say, though, she kind of, her and her mom, remind me, she looks like her mom when she smiles, but her mom doesn't do the whole set of teeth like Gina does. That girl, somebody said it was going to call her teeth. I thought that was funny, but I get it though. I get why. And so when they were talking after the wedding, let me go. I'm moving ahead of myself. So when they were at the altar, I thought their energy was really good. I was scared because I wasn't sure that Gina was going to be somebody that he was going to be interested in physically. But so far, he didn't seem, to have a problem. They had a really good kiss. I thought, like I said, their energy, was good. And somebody was saying, as a reviewer, that they thought that he and his mother didn't like the dog because she had the dog bring Clint's ring down the aisle as a ring bearer. And I didn't see a problem. So if I missed that, I didn't see that he had a problem with the dog. And I didn't see that his mama had a problem with the dog. So that's the other thing that kind of scares me about these reviewers is that I'm like, okay, we're looking at the same thing. So how is it that you got all of that from a situation? I didn't see that. So I might have to go back and actually look at that again and just make sure that, that my perception is cool. Because that bothers me. It really honestly does. Like if we were jurors sitting on a jury And we have to decide whether somebody killed somebody or not. And all of the decisions that we're making are based on the evidence that we all get a chance, 12 people get a chance to look at the same thing. And then we all come away with 12 different opinions. That's dangerous. That's just dangerous. And I wouldn't want someone who can't be objective in their ability to be able to look at facts. I would never want any of these people on my jury. Yeah. So, and I said that, yeah, okay, I talked about the kids. Oh, and then when they got together after the ceremony, they found out that they actually lived in each other's building. And apparently, I don't know if Gina's buying her condo and Clint is renting, but I think he said that he was renting his. And so, um, I don't know what to think about that. But she was wondering why she had never met him at the pool. He's like, because I'm always at the lake. Um, his body of water is different than her body of water. But she does do lake stuff. She said that in an earlier episode when they were doing the preseason shows. And so on the after show, she said that Clint sent her a present of sailing gloves, of deck gloves. And that was really kind of disappointing to me. And it really and then after I listened to some other stuff that the guys were saying, about Clint, it really shows me that he is a dude that can pull women, but I don't think he really understands women. Because a dude that really understood a woman, number one, wouldn't have dressed like that for her at her wedding. It's not just your wedding, it's also her wedding. And he would have been more romantic. I mean, one thing, that's all you could, out of all the stuff that you could have thought about, a card, or I think a card would have even been better than some deck gloves. Or at least a card or something to go with the deck gloves. You know what I'm saying? So that was just really insensitive, I think. And the other thing that has a red flag, just a flashing light, like warning, is when they were talking afterwards and they both were saying that they think that this is going to be easy. It just made me flash back to Alexis. I mean, time Alexis said that after the honeymoon, them dogs got up in that apartment and flipped that whole situation around. And nothing was ever good after that. So, I don't look. It's really... Where do they find these people? Have they watched this show? I don't know. So let's look at who else got married. We'll look at Chris and Nicole. So they were the last couple on this episode to get married. And I didn't like his suit. I did not. I don't know what's up with these guys just sitting there letting these men pick these suits and not really, giving them. I mean, man, you on TV. You're not just going down to the chapel. You ain't at Vegas. Even if you was in Vegas, I want my wedding pictures to look better than that. I mean, I'm not even going to go there because I'd be going on a rant. But I thought that his gifts were very thoughtful. And Nicole really, really appreciated it. She said that this is kind of person. You're giving me this kind of thought. You're putting this kind of energy into me. And you don't even know what I look like. You don't know who I am. And I'm getting all of this out of you already. She said, okay, this is why I wanted to get married at first sight, because I don't know anybody that would do this kind of thing, for me. And I felt her. I was thinking about having like a birthday party, for myself. But I actually didn't really have any friends that I wanted to do that kind of energy, for. And I know what she meant. I felt it. So my couple that I'm really, really pulling for this season is them so far. Because I think that they're at a level of maturity that some of the other people, haven't ascended to. And that they're just ready to meet a solid human being that wants to go in a positive direction and that wants to do it together, with each other. So they're my number one couple, and I love their energy at the altar. And I'm so glad that she didn't blurt out, that she loved him over some superficial gifts. She actually needs to be able to have more understanding about who he is before she can say that she loves him. But I understood her point. She's excited and thirsty because, she's getting attention, the kind of attention from a guy that she's always, wanted. And so I like their energy at the altar. And for some reason, I'm blanking on their communication. I know they talked about their dogs. And I know he told her about his accident. So, yeah, so far that's about, I'm drawing a blank. I apologize, for that. And so let's look at the last two people that have to get, last two couples. And that is Jasmine and Eris, and then Dominique and McKinley. So, McKinley surprised me. And I clipped that with the after show. When, I think they were talking about the sex. When's the last time they had sex? Or it could have been the one where I'm like, well, where's the bro code? Because he said that he was dating somebody before the show. And it was actually a really good connection. But it wasn't long. So my thing is, once you decide that you want to put yourself in this process, you need to stop thinking about dating people. Because you're adding a level of confusion and you're adding energy into a situation that is already bringing you a level of conflict. So he had to make a decision as to whether or not he was going to pursue that relationship or whether he was going to accept going on married at first sight. And he's already put that other person in a bad position. So now we see in the previews that something's going to go on between him and Dominique. And I don't know, what that is. Whose side, is coming from. So I have to reserve judgment. So I thought that was noteworthy. So we'll see what happens with their wedding. We also see in a promo that she can't remember what his name is, but she's not the first person who can't remember that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on in your head, and you got nerves, and so it's okay. She can just ask him, again, or she can ask the producer. What was his name again? And so we have Jasmine and Eris, and she was picking her dress, I remember, and was worried about not looking pageantry. I thought the one that she picked was fine. I'm not a big fan of the lace and the flesh-colored stuff that they got going on with wedding dresses now. I think the flesh tone linings that they're using are not beneficial, especially with dark skin. But and then Eris's people were like, hey man, there's no nicotine patch, for coming up out of the streets. I mean, you doing this cold turkey. How is that gonna work? And they were giving him a hard time about that. And his cousin, she was like, look, man, this doesn't make any sense. Okay? You don't need to be held hostage. I'm here. I got your back. We can walk right out of this door, and I got you. And so apparently he's going to go ahead and go through with it. But I just think this is the epoch. And what's up? Okay, so I think this is the epoch in time that we're going to go back and talk about at some point. Because it happened with Michael's brother. Michael's brother told him when he was in that kitchen before he got married to Jasmine, and nah, man, it's all about compromise. And that is the exact thing that Michael could not do. And everybody wants to still blame Jasmina for that marriage. And I have to question your judgment and your ability to hear stuff. It happened with Justin. His brother told him, "No, man, you are not ready." And so now it's happening, again with Eris. So we'll see. We'll see. So I don't see any Jesus in Eris. And that is another Isaac and Katina issue. This woman has told you that she's a preacher's kid. So she does have an understanding of Scripture. And I don't think Eris knows what Scripture is. He's heard about the Bible, but I don't think he knows anything that's inside of it. So why would you do that? Why would you put this woman in a position? She needs to be with somebody like a Shaquille, who actually has a biblical basis, has gone through, a lot, really worked on himself, really, really wants to settle down and have a good, believing wife and, build, a solid family. But they done went put her with this joker, like Eris. So, I don't even know. But just going over my other notes that I have written down. When I look at Shaq and then I look at Eris seems like he's more logical. Like the way he presents himself. But the way he's acted, like this joker got ghosted one time, like 9 or 10 years ago. And he has refused to put himself out there again because he doesn't want to have that hurt. But it was okay when he was running around ghosting people. And that they had to go and pick themselves up and go and figure out, how to live a productive life. But he used it to make an excuse as to why he didn't want to be in a serious relationship. So that shows me that he's more emotional. And the logic that he's presenting to us is really shaky. So then you got Shaq, who presents as emotional, but I actually was listening to his conversation with Eris when they were talking about sex and they were meeting each other over pizza. And the questions in his conversation were really logical and not based on emotion. So, like I said, he presents emotional, but I see a lot of logic in the way that he communicates, himself. So I thought that was something that I'm going to be looking at. And then when we look at, remember I talked to y'all about the parable in the Bible, the wheat and the tares? Okay, so with this whole little Christian situation that we got going on here, I'm going to show you the wheat that I see versus the tare. So I have wheat as Jasmine and Shaq. I see them as wheat. And tares, I see Kirsten and Eris. So these are the kind of things, that I'm going to be looking for as the season goes on. And just some notes as we go on and we look at the rest of the weddings. I don't know what's up with these guests. I mean, you got these guests showing up with all these casual clothes on to a wedding. And I don't know how seriously, they are taking this. I would be offended if somebody showed up in jean anything, at my wedding, if it's a formal wedding. Now, if we're out on the beach and, it's that casual that we're not doing, formal wear, then yeah, that's cool. But if we're doing formal wear, then you're going to come up in there in something formal. Don't bring no casual beanie hats and jean jackets and all this other stuff. And then Eris's cousin in that breast dress. I'm sure they had to stop filming so that she could pull that joker up because it seemed like it was just headed straight south. How you have all of that and then decide that you cannot wear something to help give you support. I don't know what world she living in. So I have here, I don't understand why Matt, Clint, and Eris even put themselves in a position to date when they knew that they were going for the show. It really makes me mad that other people who probably are way more serious about this didn't get a chance. And then they sat up and gave these jokers a chance. And they're not, I don't like that. Because McKinley's running around talking about, oh, well, he got his heart broken because he got a picture from his soon-to-be fiance, finding out that she's somebody else's fiance. But then you're going to sit there now and say, well, I had to choose between this girl that I was dating that I really liked or come on the show to get married to somebody that I don't even know who they are. It just doesn't make no sense. And then I was saying for Kirsten, just in my head. So if her husband if she had went down the aisle and her husband, had that low haircut that she's screaming about, then what if at some point in his life he went bald? Then what would she do? So now he ain't got hair no more. Now you don't love him. Now he don't look as good, as he used to. Okay, Kirsten. So we are at the end. I didn't think I was going to talk this long. So, this next episode, I'm looking forward to the rest of the weddings, the receptions, the brunch, and then we should be finding out where they're going on their honeymoon. So let's see what we can squeeze out of 2 hours for episode number 3. I really appreciate anybody, who's hanging in there with me. Like, share, comment, subscribe. And I have a donate coffee fund down there for anybody that's interested to, let a sister go have a cup of coffee. I appreciate that. If y'all appreciate the work, that I'm putting in. And I'll talk to y'all in the next video.